from back when you started.
So happens that I do. I keep this with me because I need to remember
really
what it's like to have hair. Actually,
let's see if we get a photo of this here. Great Muniz.
Well, I think a popular one for anybody who's been here through the period I was here is probably when systems changed dramatically. There were probably 4 or 5 phases to it. I really haven't numbered them, but if I started talking about all of them, they really began well before the period represented by MCS2, right? And essentially trying to drive data entry from the field office and ownership, really, at that level, into a system that we could in turn see from here. When I originally started, they were using a company and a dumb terminal, a company out of Southfield called CASC. It was a computer service company. And basically they were capturing keystrokes by the field so that they could kind of keep track of what the number of offers were that were entered and pay commissions and do those types of things. I wasn't real deeply involved in it because it didn't drive typesetting. It didn't drive the book production. But that system was replaced by a system called Bedford at the time. Real-time typesetting was the key. What you see, WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get, and people who were referred to in the publishing department, the editorial department at the time, became typesetters. Not all of them, but there was a good percentage of them that sort of took to it, and they got trained on how to use this, what was referred to as a high-end typesetting system. And after about 3 years, that was replaced by another system. Desktop publishing had started to come of age. But all the while in the background, this MCS2 thing is existing, and we're working toward a point where we can see that text come together with graphics and output artwork. And the year that I think we really saw the most happen with respect to that was probably it was either 93 or 94, I think, where every field office that existed, I think we were up to about 120 at the time, was put on a wide area network. They were given a PostScript printer. They had PCs. They were using typesetting systems themselves just prior to this, so they had a good sense for where we were going. But essentially, they sat at their terminals and input data into MCS2, and at the other end of the process, essentially a printed coupon came out on that PostScript printer. That was a year of big innovation from, and really it took a little bit more than a year, I think. But essentially that first year of its implementation, we went from every coupon being produced manually, being touched somehow manually, and then shipped back to the field for proof. We went to 85% produced through that automation without having to be keystrokes on one end at the field, and at the other end, essentially the application looking at that data that they'd entered and driving the data together with the images out to a coupon and sending that proof out to that PostScript printer in the field office. And if that was done smoothly, we could actually see a coupon come out at the other end, fully proofed, requiring really very little change at that point, in about 12 minutes. Typical one, buy one get one free type offer, not real complex. Whereas in the old days, it used to take us 22 minutes to just do the typesetting and proofread the key line before it left my department. And the field hadn't seen it. And here we're spanning long distances with what I'm describing, because, if this was Albany, New York putting this offer together, that PostScript printer, PostScript output that was coming off from their printer had actually come from here and been sent across the wide area network. So a good deal of innovation. There was a lot of change that occurred then, and a good deal of efficiency, and I think that's when I would really sort of represent the most substantial change from an internal perspective, certainly. And I think there were a lot of things that began to cause us to say, if we can do this, then let's head this direction. And automation should become, if we're here, basically that was all homegrown. There was no off-the-shelf application that we used to do all of that automation. It had all been created from internal. So we did use some off-the-shelf typesetting software, a program called Ventura Publisher, which essentially we, along with Shannon Upham, was a big player in that whole process of turning this stuff automated. He essentially, we learned how to create. It'd be much like saying I could create a Word document without Microsoft Word. We learned how to do that behind the scenes and then use the application to just launch the document and print it, and that was where the automation resided. The biggest challenge in that was really the automated aspect of the typesetting. That type, we never knew exactly how much text there was going to be. Type fitting, I think is what we called it at the time. It's been so long ago, I think I've forgotten the terms, the typical terms. But a big time for innovation in terms of our process. No need for second shifts worth of proofreaders and typesetters and keyliners. So pretty significant. And really one of the things that had been difficult over time was the field were the ones responsible for inputting that data that would appear in these offers. A system like this really gave us the ability to let them have that ownership, which they wanted. So it wasn't just from an internal perspective regarding here at headquarters, but I think it affected all facets and areas of the company. Salespeople being actually to be able to see their offers in a timely fashion. So it was remarkable in the sense of how much it affected things. And we were really kind of coming of age with respect to doing this. There were folks out there who were using automated applications to produce publications, but the kind of variation that existed and the types of things that involved actually getting these books to press was the difficulty. I needed to be able to get coupons together on a single sheet of paper, and that's not how we originally produced them. So there was a lot of migration of thought that went into making this happen. So pretty substantial, and I could probably talk way too long as I may have already done.
So great.
Worked with kind of a shame too. There's a lot of folks that I've worked with, at least in my role, that have certainly been a part of the education, that I've gained through my years here at Entertainment. Some of the names I would remember I mentioned one already. Shannon Upham was instrumental in working through a lot of those things that I described in that very innovative period.
What would you say was his most innovative contribution?
Well, I think the things that we did inside that automation, MCS2 and the publishing system that was produced. Basically, I wrote a longhand document that just described in layman's terms how every one of the formats worked, how the type was supposed to fit, how much copy was supposed to fit in each given area of a coupon. And Shannon was really responsible for taking what I'd written and making it into programmatic terminology, and where it didn't work, helping me modify the thought process so that he could get it to work in programmatic terms. And like I said, the output was just, it was remarkable that so few coupons actually had to be touched, but that brought the advent of what was called the SPRIF, the coupon that had to be manually handled, special publishing request form, I think. The coupon had to be handled specially, so there was a form created to accommodate that, and Shannon was instrumental in bringing us to a point where we could make sense out of that part of the process. And 85% of the data that went into MCS2 came out at the other end on a PostScript proof without human hand having to touch it from a typesetting perspective. The copy fitting and logo merging with text and so on didn't need to be done. So